Little Rock Mayor Mark Stodola has returned from a visit to Saudi Arabia. He and 9 other U.S. mayors were guests of the Saudi government who picked up the tab. They're looking to strengthen U.S. ties, but the mayor feels that the PR went both ways.
Anybody watching this that heard the mayor went to Saudi Arabia would first react more cynical, would, did our taxpayer money pay for this?
Absolutely not. As a matter of fact, I would not have gone but for the fact that the U.S. Conference of Mayors and the Saudi government through the embassy extended the invitation and indicated that they were paying all the expenses for myself and one of our staff members here from the city. So Assistant City Manager Brian Day and myself went at the expense of the U.S. Conference of Mayors and the Saudi government.
What will we see out of, what will Little Rock gain from you going over there? How did they help? Do you think they'll help us?
Well, it's an interesting observation. We've been very focused on economic development, and as you know, over the last 2 years, we've been very successful in landing and recruiting foreign companies who've decided to locate in the heart of America, in the heart of Arkansas, right here in the capital city. So we've got two Indian steel tube manufacturing plants. We've got 2 European windmill blade manufacturing plants. We've got HP and Caterpillar, and we've been able to attract, for a variety of reasons, companies that are really international in scope. And so, I guess at first blush you say, well, what do they do in Saudi Arabia that would be of interest to Arkansas? And it goes in reverse. There are a lot of things that we do that the Saudis are interested in terms of economic development. So one of my objectives was really to seek out what kind of economic development opportunities there are. One of the members in our group, there were 10 mayors that went over. We were all very appreciative of the invitation. Everyone from, cities like Phoenix and Cincinnati to Davenport, Iowa, Rochester, Minnesota. So we had a large array of cities. Ours was really one of the larger cities, I guess, 300 or 200, approximately 200,000 people for us, and Phoenix was the largest, I guess. But in any event, one of the people in our group said, well, what do you export? And this one Saudi foreign minister had a big smile on his face, and he said, we export oil and we export cash. So it kind of underscored the fact that this is a very rich country, certainly because of the dependency that we have on oil, and it gives them great opportunities to export other things. One of the other things they do export is education. Interestingly enough, most of the people in Saudi Arabia speak English as a second language. They begin in the 1st grade. We went to an elementary school, and the 3rd graders could speak English as good as my 12-year-old boys, frankly, which I was quite impressed with. And certainly all of the ministers and heads of government not only speak English, but most of them have been educated at American universities. And so I met a gentleman who was in the public relations department for Saudi Aramco, which is the major oil business and industry over there, who graduated from UALR. And he said, hey, that's my alma mater. I went to school there. And I met another gentleman the very last night. We were working with the Chamber of Commerce, and I went through the line. I introduced myself, and I was supposed to do the hosting for that night at the final farewell dinner. And he said, well, tell me, how's Curtis Coleman? He's my partner. He's my business partner. Has he decided to run for the Senate yet? And by the way, tell him he hadn't paid up on that bet we had on the presidential race. He owes me a chicken. I bet him a chicken that Barack Obama would win, and he lost. And so those kinds of parallels, I think, are really what tell us that the world is getting very, very small. And the opportunity for exchange, the opportunity for business relationships is very much real. And so,
well, let me ask you.
I think that we work very hard on the issue. There's a lot of things they import. They import a lot. So they're looking for a lot of things that, for example, Axiom. I had in mind the opportunities that Axiom might have over there, and I know that one of the Axiom executives just returned from Dubai, looking for an expansion of that facility. The medical corridor that we have recruits a lot of people from Arab countries, including the Saudis. And education, as I said, they do education, and there are 168 people who are Saudi citizens who are in our Arkansas universities. 62 of those are here in Little Rock. And they spend an average of $72,000 a year for these students to come to school and attend classes here. So there's a real economic benefit to to developing those relationships, even as it relates to our academic institutions here in the city.
But this cash that they've got from the oil, what are the chances of them investing Saudi investment in Little Rock and the infrastructure of Little Rock?
Well, I think they're very smart. When people invest money, they're looking for a return. So I think the issue is, what would they invest in? Would they invest in municipal bonds? Would they invest in other kinds of businesses? Clearly, they're interested in various kinds of investments that will pay them a return, just like any other businessman would.
Did you have your guard up a little bit though, because Saudi, they're looking to improve their image, and I'm sure they're looking at getting mayors over there who work so closely with people. Look how you're so accessible to people. If we get these mayors over here and work it from inside out in the United States, we can improve it. Was your guard up?
Well, there's no question that part of what I think this exchange was about was to expose mayors who do come in contact with people on the street every day, to expose them to what real Saudis are like, and what that country is, and what kind of people they are. And they feel very, very badly that Al-Qaeda recruited a substantial number, 11 Saudis, as part of the hijacking team that destroyed the World Trade Towers and killed so many of our citizens. And they said that was not any accident that Al-Qaeda had done that the intent was to drive a wedge between the relationship of the United States government and the Saudi government. And they felt that by using that number of Saudis, that the United States might very well attack Saudi Arabia, galvanize all the Islamic countries together, including those that hold all the oil and all the money. When that did not occur, then in 2003, they suffered their own attacks from Al-Qaeda, where they tried to overthrow the government there. And so frankly, I don't think many people know that or understand that. I mean, we tend to lump all of those Arab countries together, and they're different and they're strange, and they attacked us, and so we need to exact the consequences of that. And most of the officials were very, very strong about indicating what a strong, long relationship that the Saudi government has had with the United States, and trying to correct what they perceive to be misperceptions about their country. And there's no question it is a conservative country, so you've got we have the separation of church and state. They have exactly the opposite. Church and state are totally intertwined. In other words, their religion is what makes up their government. It is what is the basis of their laws. And so it's a totally different culture in that regard. And so religion and family are all tied together. And of course that ties into the issues of women's rights. We had a healthy discussion about women's rights as well. There are women who own businesses there. We met with several women who own businesses that are part of the Jeddah, the city of Jeddah Chamber of Commerce. They are making great strides. The King Abdullah, has been working very, very hard to modernize the country, and he understands that it's going to take incremental time to do that. But he is making some substantial reforms as it relates to a variety of things.